Setting up. Done. Okay, we're there. Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on what part of the world you're joining us from. My name is Brenda Unu, and I am super excited to have you here today on tonight's edition of Women's Matters. It's the last weekend, it's the last Tuesday in our love month, and we're picking a topic that is very interesting. But before we go into our topic, I'd like to introduce you to our guest. So with me today is Efue ANAEKWE. And you know how we do it on Women's Matters, we allow our guests to introduce themselves to their horns, so to speak. So Efue, please let us know who you are and introduce yourself to our audience.
All right. Thanks so much, Coach B, for inviting me. It's my honor to be on, Women's Growth Academy live session today. My name is Efue ANAEKWE, like you rightly mentioned. I'm an information technology professional. I have over 15 years experience in that field. I currently live in Canada and I work for a crown corporation in the IT department. I mean, I have a lot of hobbies and passions. So beyond my day job, I'm a compare, I'm a panel moderator, I'm also a voiceover actor, I'm an author. Yeah, I can probably say that right now, right?
Yay!
Yeah, but I think above all, I'm a Christian. I love God, I love people, I'm happily married, and I have two children. So that's me in a nutshell.
I love it. I love it. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for blessing us with your awesomeness. Because what is all that? Like I'll just listen to things like yes, yes, yes. Come on, girl, go, go, go. So today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. Like I said, beyond the boxes. I mean, it sounded like a book title. I was like, this is our guest. She's very
Yeah,
cerebral.
maybe
Small
I'm gonna
matter
write
like
a
this.
book.
Just small matter. I just turn it into this is what is it now? So tell us about the titles. Tell us about why did you choose this topic, and how did you go about crafting the title?
Yeah, I mean that's a fantastic question. I didn't expect you to ask me, but I love the fact that you did, because when you
Mm,
think about relocation, people are always focused on the act of moving, right? So packing your
mm,
boxes and making sure that, I mean, you're making such a long journey, you don't want to have to forget anything behind because it won't be easy, coming back to pick it up and then the cost and all of that, right? So there are so many aspects that people actually prepare for relocation, but one
mm,
thing that they forget to do is to also prepare their marriage for the act of relocating. Right? So beyond
mm.
the packing, making sure you have all the food, Africans especially, we want to pack like 10 boxes of African food,
You
Some
know
people want
this.
to get like warm clothing to, start off the journey before they get there and they're able to buy, other clothing
Mm,
items and all of that. But one thing
mm,
I've realized is that nobody actually sits down to look at what is the impact of this journey I'm about to embark on. What is the
mm.
potential impact on my marriage and how do I prepare for it? So, as part of your preparation for relocation, I believe that people should be more, intentional about also preparing their marriage to survive the act of relocating.
That's interesting. I mean, and to be honest, this is really a thing because I know that many men nowadays are so scared of relocation. They're almost thinking like, "Ha, I beg you, any relocation like this, that means you've lost your wife," you know. And I hear my husband and his friends say that a lot. In fact, there was a young man in my office who was planning to get married, and he says, "Oh, his wife wants to go to school in Canada," and everybody's like, new wife, please, oh, don't let her go," you know. So I mean, it is a thing. Like people really just
Yeah.
believe that once one party relocates, the marriage is over. So I mean, and you were telling us that this conversation today is going to help us to prepare, even if you're going to relocate without a partner, how to preserve your marriage. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, even more importantly, right, relocating with your
Even
partner.
with your partner.
Yeah, because
Mm,
I mean, we all know the challenges where a couple is separated, but even when the
mm.
two of you are going to embark on that journey together, people don't think they need to prepare for it because you know what? We are all going together, right? So
Do you
what will happen?
understand?
Be there with each other. So therein lies the fallacy. Therein lies because it's just like saying that you're going to the swimming pool and you just go in there and you're like, oh, we sink or swim. Nobody
Mm,
does that, right? You have to evaluate yourself and say, okay, do I have the capacity to swim? If no, do you want to go take classes, right? Or do you want to
mm.
get a life jacket? Do you want to get a floater? Like, how have you prepared yourself to embark on that journey? So, even beyond the fact that for some people they relocate and for a period they're separated, even when you're together, right, you still have to prepare for that because relocation will shock you.
Ah,
That's
almost.
what I have to say.
In fact, I can imagine. I can't even relate. I can just imagine because I can't. This is one of the things you say I can relate. But so let's take it from the angle of, I mean, I know that for you, for a bit of time, you were away from your partner when he relocated before you. Let's take it from that angle first, but this is one that most people, know and expect. Let us even start from there first. How do you help? What do you do to even preserve the relationship and all that when you start? Some of us have not done long distance before, like we're not even ready for all this. So how do you do
Yeah.
it? Because I mean, I hear that most times, the party left behind is either any of the parties that is stressed out, bogged down about things and you're wondering, you're not even here to help me, you're just chilling where you are, that kind of thing. So how do you think that it is? What do you think people should do really in this first part before we go into the part of where we are going together?
Yeah, I mean that's a really, really challenging situation, right? And I feel like the party that is being left behind, we don't really know how much of a sacrifice is being made,
Mm,
because at the time, I mean, the family, it's for the good of the family. And so you're like, okay, you go, maybe the woman or the man, you go ahead, I'll stay behind. And then depending on your scenario, sometimes it's the woman going with the kids. That is another ball game. So she might be going to school and then she's going to be there with what, one, two, three kids.
mm,
Sometimes the man is going and maybe the woman is left behind wherever she is, Nigeria, for example, with the kids. But whatever be the case, whoever most times does not have the children, that party is always seen to be enjoying,
balling.
in
Yeah.
quotes. And you
Mm-hmm,
can get
mm-hmm,
very angry and upset. I remember for me, right? If I want to use myself as an example, after my husband had left for a few months, he was abroad without us. We're back home in Nigeria, even though I like had help, my mom and all of those things. And then there was a time difference as well. So that's what makes it really, really strenuous, right? That
mm-hmm.
and then I'll be waiting for the call. Sometimes I might not be able to call every day, and I'll be like, "What are you doing? Like, oh,
That
you are
work
you are
do
you
you
are
have?
living the life." Yeah, yeah. With the kids and all of that. But we also
Mm,
have to understand that each person, it challenges both parties differently, right? And
true.
extend grace to the other person. Because that person who has also gone abroad is the woman with children. You cannot even begin to imagine what she's going through, right? But even if you go abroad as a single person, that is just the husband or the wife without the kids, right? There's the challenge of settling down. It's a new country, you know nobody, right? You're still
Mm,
trying to find your way around, probably trying to get a job. There's the cold, depending on what part of the world you're moving to. You're going to Finland, you're going to Canada. The cold is going to be, in your bones. And these are realities,
It's
harsh realities of
it's a
life,
real
right?
thing.
You're
Mhm.
trying to get a job, you're trying to maybe get an apartment because most times you don't land and have a place to stay. You land and maybe you're squatting or somebody is housing you for a short period, or you're in an Airbnb paying thousands of dollars and you're thinking, I got to get a house, right? So you're doing all of these things. And by the time you have to do all these things, when you're ready to call home, it's probably like what, 2 a.m. Your husband or your wife is sleeping, right? You see how the anger begins to mount and you're thinking, oh, you must be really, really having a time of your life for you to forget that your spouse is back home, and that
Mm.
person who has the kids always feels like he or she is doing
Has
so
a
much
shorter
more,
end.
right? You
Mm.
always feel like you have the shorter end of the stick, like you said. But I feel like couples should see the bigger picture. And I always tell people, regardless of what the relocation is, it might not even be abroad. Like I once had a friend, when I used to work in Nigeria, and she didn't live in, her husband didn't live in Lagos. We were both working in Lagos, and her husband lived somewhere else, one of the Western states. And I asked her immediately that, what's your plan for moving? Because for me, there should be a definite timeline. I don't believe that to just be, open-ended, like, wherever the wind
You
blows,
live here, I live here. Well, okay.
let's see how it goes. No. So when there's a defined timeline, it makes it easier to contain the situation. Okay, we know that in 1 year, in 2 years, in 6 months, you can literally begin to count down towards the day of glory, if I can call it that, right? So that's what I would say. And then they need to support each other as well. I feel like communication is one thing that they need to ensure that that communication wheel is properly oiled, right? So you have to,
Right.
if you're in a different time zone, you guys agree what's the best time that, we can have calls, maybe video calls with the children, even if it's just the weekend with your spouse, you want to touch him. Is it every day, every 2 days? No, whatever works for you. But before you even leave Nigeria, have a plan, right? Have a plan, come
Mm.
to an agreement and say, okay, yes, this is what we will do. Perhaps you now get there and you find out, okay, this every day that we said, it won't really work. We'll talk about it. Can we do like every 3 days, right? But the only reason why that person that is back home most times, or the person that has the kids is resentful is
Yeah.
because of that lack of communication, right? The
Yes.
person the devil they say nature abhors vacuum,
Mm.
right? If nothing is happening, if there's no communication to say, okay, this is how it's going with me, I will assume 1 million, 1 billion things, and you don't want my mind to go where my mind should not be going. So just let me know, right? Like keep the communication line. Let's know your
Yes.
challenges. Let me feel like I'm part of those your challenges. Oh, you're looking for a house. Oh, you're trying to do this. I would even be praying for you. And when you don't call, I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
I would understand. But where there's no communication, that is where the resentment starts to build.
I can be okay. And that makes a lot of sense. And to be honest, you know how they say that communication solves all the problems in marriage? Really, 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 it's not even a fluke. It is the truth. And like you said, just imagine the person that is at home is battling with, paying NEPA bills, buying fuel, dragging generator. Nigeria is not easy. It's not
Over there.
easy.
Oh.
And school run, traffic, fuel queues, power outages and all of those things. And you're just thinking, see you are over there with no power outages, life, you're chilling, no children, no stress, and you can't even do the littlest thing, which is just to call. I mean, what could you possibly be doing? So I mean, but you have just outlined all the other millions of things that person could possibly be going through, and especially sometimes when there's a time difference, it can be a real challenge. So, I mean, we should all just learn to extend grace to each other, like you said, so that, things work better. And truly, truly, whichever side of the divide you are in, either the spouse left behind or the spouse over there, communicate your feelings. Have a time, arrange on a time for a daily call or weekly call or thrice weekly, whatever it works for you guys. See, this kind of things is like sex. Nobody can prescribe for you. Some people can say it's 3 times a week. Some people can say it's 4 times. Some people can say once a day. Hello, ma. Do it as you are. Be true to thyself. Look at your own circumstances and be true to yourself. What works for you? So far as it's communicated and accepted by both parties, it is fine. There is no right way or wrong way. It is what works for you both. So thank you so much for that. That made a lot of sense. I mean, I'm almost feeling like I have, arsenal in case I wanted to relocate.
First thing, even talking about this whole calling and time difference, I remember I used to hound my husband a lot, like, what are you doing? If when I
Mm.
call, right, I feel like I'll call in the afternoon and be thinking, you should be awake. But you don't know, maybe the person was reading last night, or the person was working or had a shift, or depending on the circumstance, right? The person might be sleeping in the morning. It was
Mm.
when I finally joined him. I mean, you know the story now. How many video calls do I join? It was when my mom started to say the exact same thing about me. And she was like, you
That's
never call. We never hear from you. I'm thinking, do you know how it is over here? Like, our timings just cannot align. Like, yeah, exactly. So I began to see, and there was one thing my husband used to say, don't worry, when you come here, you will see. And I'll be
you
like,
too.
what do you mean?
What do you mean? You know how we
I,
make them
I, I
dramatic.
now
There's
understand
nothing
that.
to
I mean,
see.
it's busy. Life can get really, really, really busy when you're abroad. And so when you add that to time difference, just extend grace is what I would say.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I mean, that I think that pretty much sums up extend grace. If you're the party left behind or you're the party over there and you feel like you're shortchanged, extend grace and communicate. Talk about it. Tell the other person how you feel, and they will also tell you how they feel. And whoever is challenged to share the challenges, we can even pray about it. Do you see? But when we don't know what's going on with you, how can we help you? We can't understand, we can't pray, we can't so don't be closed, don't be a closed mouth there. Thank you. Long and short of the whole story. So thank you guys for joining. I see you guys on YouTube. Thank you for joining. So now, the next part of this now would be for those who, and you did mention this at the beginning of the call where you said it's even normal for the ones that one person has gone, the other one's come back. That one is normal. But the ones that most people overlook, which is more like a blind spot, are the ones that are going together. I mean, not to preempt you, but I'm beginning to think about it that it's true. Nigeria is a different ball game from that side. I want team men that don't know how to even pick up after themselves. We now go there and they suddenly know how to. Oh, please give it to us. What was your experience, and what do you think we can do to make it better?
Yeah, my experience was probably not as bad as, some people may have had it, right? If I want to use the average African or specifically Nigerian couple, right? It's always like the man is the provider, the woman is the caretaker. It's been ingrained in our systems, like from birth, right? There's no conversation. When people get married, they don't sit down and say, okay, what will you be doing? They know, like each person just gravitates towards their own side and everything is going well in quotes, right?
Mm,
Well in quotes. When you come
mm,
abroad, it's a different ball game. And many times people don't quickly realize that they kind of know it, but they don't
mm,
know how much of an effect it can have to understand that these are conversations you need to have prior to even
mm,
relocate so that everybody's ready. In my case, I said it was much better because, like right? My husband has always been hands-on, right? He has always been hands-on. So coming here, and then my kids were a little bit older, so they could fend for themselves to a large extent. So it was pretty good in that regard, right? But the average African family, like I said, is not quite prepared for it. And why I always say again, it goes back to the communication thing. You need to talk about these things. Don't assume that when we get here, we'll adjust.
mm.
Before you adjust,
Just
a
as.
lot of water may have passed under the bridge and the bridge may have already collapsed before
Mm,
you begin to adjust because you are not able to understand the kind of challenges you would face and it's different for different people. Like no matter, even if you sit down 10 people and they tell you their story, their immigration story, yours might be completely different from that. So a lot of things are already going to strain your marriage just because you decided that you're going to get up and leave your country that you know and all of the support
perfect
system that you
country.
have had and move to another country. The first thing that will shock you, obviously, is the weather. So depending on where you move to, you might even be trying to survive the cold first, and all of that. Then by the time you change your money and you felt like a baller in Lagos, you change your money is not money.
It's not.
You're not calculating. For the first time in my life, I started using calculator and Excel sheets. Oh boy. Because the money you came with, that your landing money or whatever they call it, I can't remember what it's
Mm.
called again. You have to stretch it,
Your
stretch it.
proof of funds. Your proof of funds.
You see, when all those governments will say proof of fund, you think they're trying to create barriers. No, they are not. You literally need
They
that
know.
money.
They know.
You literally do. If you don't, all these stories of 1990 and 2000. They say, I entered UK with $100, £100. I don't know how they did it. I want to assume
Doesn't
they were
work.
like singles, right? No children, no responsibilities. So I don't know, maybe they slept on the road in Walmart one or two times or something. Otherwise, practically, when you begin to have, and we know normally financial issues can put a strain on a marriage, normally,
Absolutely.
regardless of, wherever in the world you're located. So now you're in a new
Absolutely.
country. There's no mother or father or sister or brother. Probably your neighbors, you don't even talk to them. You have no
They've not
friend,
greeted, they've
nobody
not
to
greeted
speak
you
to.
before.
Nobody to speak to. You have that going. You're trying to figure out, oh, these kids, get them in school, blah, blah, blah. Your money, you're titrating. Have you seen titration before? Even those that were not science students, you will understand the meaning of titration. When you're letting go, you now start understanding needs and wants better when you move. So you have all of that going. So you guys can become very irritable towards each other, right? That's already
Mhm.
natural. Then imagine a situation where we now come with this our African mentality. The man is to
Of,
provide,
of you will
the
raise your leg.
woman, the woman is to take care of the home. How is it going to work, right? When
Mm,
look at the people who have lived wherever it is that you're relocating to. How are marriages, those who are thriving, what do they do? What are their secrets? These are people that have
mm,
lived in this country since the first day of their lives. These are people that
mm,
understand the economic terrain, they understand how the system works, they understand how to create wealth, how to live a comfortable life. You need to
mm,
see what do they do, right? What are the tools they have
mm,
deployed, and how can you might not be able to take everything verbatim, right, and apply to your life. There might still be aspects of our culture that you want to retain, but you cannot
mm.
take the culture back
From
home and
from
expect
Nigeria.
that it will work in a completely different terrain. So first thing is that you have to have an open mind. And your
Mm.
open mind, you should open it before you get to wherever you're going. It's
Before
not when
you
you
cross
get
the
there,
sea.
pass as boast. You will now go and be opening the mind. I would advise that, open your mind before you get there, right? And it's very important that you have the conversation. You
Mm,
might be a woman, for example, and maybe you already know, okay, they say abroad you can't really survive on one income and all of that. So you're already open to the idea of, well, I'll support him. It's not a big deal. I'm a good Christian woman. I'll do it. But you haven't had the
mhm.
conversation with the spouse. And he is thinking, my mother did not raise me. My culture, men don't carry broom. Me, wash plates for what? You've not
Why?
had the conversation, right? So you are open to the idea of it. But he is like, maybe she's the one that said we should go. Maybe God now helped you. I wasn't the one that did the whole thing. And maybe the man was not even on board.
You are the
You see
primary
why?
person, primary applicant.
Exactly. That is why you don't have to have all of those conversations. Because one thing I always tell people is that in Nigeria, right, there's something about the whole setup that allows a dysfunctional marriage to exist for 50 years. You'll be married
Mm,
for 50 years. They will die as married couple,
mm.
extremely dysfunctional marriage.
But they will
My
be
mom,
together.
I remember when she was telling me about someone that they live together, they will go to church, they will literally wear the same material, go
And
to
go.
the church, come back home, one person goes left, one person goes right. They don't talk to each other. They literally do not speak to each other. They have a routine that has been established. Maybe
Mm.
there's an account. The man will put the money. The woman will cook. She will drop it in one part of the house. You already know where to pick it. They
No,
already know
stop.
that church is 8 o'clock. Do you understand?
Stop.
They come out at 8. They meet each other at the gate. They enter the car. They sit in the same pew. They come back
Mm,
till tomorrow
mm,
again or till evening. It works. It works because there's a support system. So
mm.
the man is talking to her. She probably has a billion friends. In fact, she needs to just go to her worst case scenario, Boki outside. She will
And
make
talk to him.
friends with the gatesmen in the estate and sit
And
out
be
there
just there.
and be gisting. Or perhaps she has a nanny or a small girl living with her. She will gist with that one. Or she will call people. Or she will go to church. And when church finish, she will greet everybody. Here, when church finish, within five, in fact,
Before you turn like this, everywhere is empty.
everybody has moved on. So, which greets? How many greetings do you want to greet? Just that but back home, you remember then that we'll go to mass 1 hour after we're still in the church. The mass has finished 1 hour ago, but my mom still has people that she will greet in 1 hour later. People are still greeting and chit-chatting. So you have a support system. You can get a driver, you can get a nanny, you can get all of these things, such that you have people that are making up for, the absence of the spouse, whichever way it is, right? You have those people that are making up for that absence. But when you come to wherever it is, UK, US, Canada, whatever, Europe, it's a completely different ball game. It's a
Mm.
completely different ball game, right? As a woman, you have to drop that mindset of it's a man that should provide, right?
Young, you people will be hungry.
I mean, the average person who lives abroad, they'll tell you that if one person cannot, foot the bills, the entire bills for the family, especially when you just arrive. I mean, you haven't even
mm,
grown your career or grown your business to the point where, maybe one person's income can now support the
of
family. This is
everything.
just you
Yeah.
starting out, and you don't know at what level you're going to start out, right? Some people have to
Mm,
start with, those menial jobs, you're picking up two, three, four, five different sheets a day, struggling to make
mm,
ends meet, right? You have to also bring something to the table. I mean, why has God blessed the family? God
mm,
has blessed you, giving you money or giving the man money for the purpose and for the good of the entire family. So you need to drop that mindset. The man as well has to drop the mindset that my father, in fact, my father will turn in his grave if he sees me washing plate. For what? Do you understand? Like, why would I
Your
do
father will
that?
be all right.
Drop it. I tell people that two things. You look at availability and you look at capacity. When you
Mm,
want to decide who does what, who has the capacity to do it. If you're the woman and maybe the guy is a student, for example, brother
mm,
that you pay the house rent. Hello.
mm,
Somebody need to
mhm.
tell you that. But you would not believe that I've heard of people who live abroad, whom the man came in, he was a student, and I've heard of Nigerian women who are demanding that he has to provide. She's working a full-time job. I've heard of people that they send money home to build
Oh wow.
houses. Like when I hear these things, I'm thinking, is this a
Oh wow.
Nigerian movie that
Is
a
this
poorly
real? Mm,
produced Nigerian movie, in my opinion? Because I'm like, what kind of ridiculous storyline is this? It's people's lives. You hear these things because we belong to like some of all these groups, and people are bringing stories about their friends, people that they know. This is not like gist. I don't know them personally, but somebody who knows them is telling you about the challenges
yeah.
they're going through. And you're thinking, how does a woman come up with this, right? Some have even heard of a woman that brought in, her family. She didn't even tell the man. She refused to support him financially and then brought her family members to come and live in the same house. So now he has an expanded family to cater for.
To
And
suppose.
they sound ridiculous, but these are people's actual real lives, which is what makes you now understand that you have to have these conversations, right? Let's even
I,
say
ca-
perhaps.
I, I need to stop you here because my chest is paining me. Like, I don't understand. You are saying to me that there will be a woman somewhere in maybe Canada or America or UK or somewhere that knows that her husband is a student. And on the average, students can only work 20 hours a week. I mean, I know that for UK. I don't know whether how it is for other countries, right? So on the average, it is maybe half type of work he can do. Do you understand? On the student visa. And you will say, and you do a full-time job because you have spousal visa that allows you permit, a work permit. And you will say that is the head of the house. That with that is half salary. He should use it to pay the bills. And you will sit down and be looking pretty. Or worse still, be sending money home for house. I don't understand. Is this a joke?
It's not a joke. I mean, the people at the time where this gist, let me just call it gist, right, came, that was when at least in Canada the government had said you can work, students just work because there was they needed people to take up
Pick up.
jobs, right? So there was no real restrictions on how many hours you could work. So you now
Okay.
find that the man is taking up shifts, he's doing warehouse, he will do Tim Hortons, he will do another one. Like you literally
And he's
working
supposed to
almost
pass.
24 hours.
Supposed to
Ah,
pass this.
now, yes,
He's supposed to read and pass.
he has to pass, so he's struggling, literally struggling to make ends meet. And somebody else is, keeping her money, right? Or you also have a situation where perhaps the woman has not even opened up her mind and said, okay, yeah, for sure, we'll support. But the man has not realized that, it's a very tricky situation, especially for women. I feel like even when you go abroad,
Mm,
it's easy to say, how much do we need? $5,000. It's very easy. It's
mm.
easy to articulate that. It's 5K we need per month. Okay, I'll bring 2,500, you bring 2,500. Or I'll bring 3,000 or 1,000, whatever it is. It's very
Yeah,
easy.
yeah. That's easy to share.
When it comes to housework, that's a
Mm.
different, who will take the kids to school? Who will bring them back from school? Who will cook it? Many
Who will
things like
clean?
that. There are so many things that has been taken for granted that is the woman that would do. You would see,
Mm.
I have colleagues that would say, let me just say James. Oh, it was James' turn to cook dinner today. I'm thinking, huh? James' turn to cook dinner today. Wow. They have shared it. There's a timetable pasted on their wall. Monday night, I cook. Tuesday evening, you cook. Like, that's the way it
Like,
works.
like,
But
like pretty much the way they have shared the bills, right? So they share
exactly.
the bills as well.
But as
I
an
mean, and that
African
is the
woman,
ideal.
as an
Hmm.
African woman, I mean, my husband
Who's
does cook
sharing with you?
sometimes, but like I just said, sometimes when to share, or I make breakfast, you make dinner every day, like
So
that
you have turned me to
particular
houseboy.
portion
Should
is
I call
certainly
my
coming
mother?
to the woman,
Should I call my
right?
mother?
Beyond calling your mom, like you as a woman, like I don't know, but I can't even imagine having that conversation. Say, okay, you know what? This cooking thing has really become a thing now, so we're gonna do it week by week. My husband calls you and tells you that I said that. Just sounds ridiculous because that's not our culture. Do you get what I
Because
mean?
it's been ingrained in us.
Exactly. But that's why I said you need to mix and match. There are some
Mhm.
things that would work. I mean, there are probably some families where it's the man that cooks, even when they were back home, but whatever the
Mhm.
case might be, right? It's not likely that you will be able to share that portion 50-50 or whatever it is. And in marriage,
Oh,
generally, I don't think there will ever really be a 50-50. I feel
mm,
like it will always sway, right?
mm,
Sometimes someone will do 60, somebody will do 40, somebody will do 30, somebody will do 70, you might do 50. It would always go up and down. And that is where communication is really, really, really important. Because
mm,
even when you have prepared for the journey and had the conversation, your communication lines need to be open because it's a constant. For example, today, I'll give you a typical example of today. Normally, one person drops the kids and the second person picks the kids up, right? Shared. It
mm,
looks like a very nice arrangement. But today,
mm,
my two kids are going to two different locations. One person is going to
mm,
be playing volleyball to the left, another person is singing in one choir to the right. Two separate sides of the city. If I were the one to pick them up, am I going to appear in two places at the same time? And the
mm,
timing to pick up is at the same time, right? So if you say, oh, 50-50, I dropped them, you're supposed to pick them. Okay, so what happens to the second child?
mm.
So you see why you have to be flexible.
Flexible.
There are days when you will do more than your fair share. And there are
Mm,
days where the other person will do more than his fair share. That's why I said capacity and availability. Who is
mm.
available to get this thing done? Person
I
should be
like
waiting
that.
at home. And who has the
And I will
capacity to
wait.
do this
I want to
thing?
pause you there. I want to pause you there. I like what you said about, capacity and availability. And maybe we should take a cue from that even here in Nigeria, because I find a lot of women, I mean, I don't live abroad, I still live here in Nigeria. And I find a lot of women complaining, especially when it comes to men doing care for the children. So what we're used to is, back home is men pay the bills and then they keep it moving. Once they pay school fees, like they pay school fees, they pay house rent. Hello, nobody should call my name. I've done what I need to do. But then we now find it's increasingly becoming evident that men need to step into childcare as well. And this is not even necessarily about making diapers or cooking food. It's about the actual parenting, showing up in school, talking to your children, taking them out, having those conversations, actually being involved in the parenting. And that's where we want to even start from here in Nigeria. I'm not even talking about washing plates. Okay, I have house said, don't even wash plate for me. Can you please be involved enough to get up and go to the school and go? It's academic consultation today. Go there. It's the child needs to go to a game. Show up for the child. Do you understand? Don't just leave it that you have paid money. How and I think that may even be a shocker to some people because when you get over there, I understand that the children have so many activities and you are
Let's
you
not
are
go there.
required to show up. So how do you think how are they supposed to make it? So I like the idea of availability and capability because that's why you see even abroad among the whites, a man may be the one at home while the wife is the one working. If
Huh.
maybe he works from home or whatever, his job is more flexible, he'll be the one sitting with the children. He'll do babysitting. He'll be the one doing school run. And the woman is there slaying boardroom and nobody is offended. Like they're okay.
Oh,
Well, how will we get to that point?
I feel like it's all about intentionality, right? And communication. Because even when I was in Nigeria,
Mm,
pick up and drop off was never one person's job.
mm,
In fact, as a baby, my kids were baited by my husband. When I didn't have nannies, there was a period, like about a year period, where we're like, you know what, this nannies will drive somebody mad. Let's not just. And in that period, he would pay the kids in the morning, pay them in the evening because I'm in the kitchen, I'm cooking, I'm doing this, right? When it comes to school activities, I will let you know. It's inter-house sports, so you will join
mm,
us. Do you understand?
mm,
You will go together. They're doing what's this thing that they check the children's work in school? You might not be able to go every time, but
mm.
at least once in a while you begin to plan for it. The issue most times I believe is that women assume that it's maybe they just feel like the man won't do it. By the time you want to start
You don't even
incorporating all
ask.
of these things, a lot of water has already gone under the bridge. The man's already used to it's like, where's that one from? 10 years marriage. You're doing a great job. They are coming with A's. Just keep doing what you're doing.
That's it.
So that's why I say, see, as much as we like peaceful homes, we don't like quarreling and all those things. I always tell people, especially young people that are just gotten married, there are some quarrels you need to have very quickly.
At the beginning.
Very, very quickly, like at the beginning, right? I had shared in another group that the first year of my marriage, the grass was boasting. But today, I'm thankful for those things because we set the standard. We were able to, maybe not the best way. We weren't very mature, about it. I wouldn't say somebody to you exactly where I did it because I was like, "Hey, let's go there." Like I was ready. That's not the best approach, right? But
Mm,
thank God we're here now. There are some conversations that you have to have from the beginning, right? So I don't think
mm,
that even being in Nigeria should excuse a man or excuse a woman from caring for the child that you contributed to bringing into the world. It's just your job
mm,
as a parent. It's not a help. You're not helping me.
mm.
You're helping yourself. You're
Hmm.
helping your child.
This
You
this
are not
help
helping me.
conversation. Huh. Somebody said in the chat in the comments in YouTube says, "Do you even know your child's class? The teachers' names, the subjects they are taking? Can you
That one
recognize their
there
friends?
is
Can you recognize their
real. Is
friends? Do
real.
you know if they have allergies?" As in, I was just like,
No clue.
the mouth.
No clue.
See,
I
my
feel
husband
like
shared with
women
me.
too,
He,
we
he
need to
shared he
see
shared
these
an
things.
Instagram post with me yesterday, not yesterday, a few days ago, about it was a joke. Like a comedian he was making a joke, a white man, and says, the teacher calls him up and says, "Oh, so and so needs to be picked up from school," and he goes like, "I'm the dad." So yeah, yeah, I know. He
Like
said,
wrong
so,
number.
the guy says, "So you look through the register, you saw dad's name, mom's name, and you chose to call the dad." And the guy was like, "Yeah, come and pick up." That's okay. I'll come as long as you tell me where the school is. Okay,
You
so
see, that's why I like Oyinbo. Can I tell you
so
that? You see that
it was a
text that will be closing school early today. You can be dead sure that the father is getting it, the mother is getting it. We'll be
Mhm,
doing one thing, one thing. The email is going to everybody. Like,
mhm,
there's no
mhm,
assumption that is a woman's thing at all
mm.
because they know
But this
that
was a
it's
white man
it's both
making
of
that
you.
joke. And my husband was so happy and he felt like, oh, I've been
Oh,
vindicated. Do you see? He said, look at me, it's a man thing. I said, no, it's not a man thing. I'm not going to take that from you. We're
no,
fighting
no,
it every
no.
day.
Yeah, I think also that let's not just assume. You said it's a white man. It might be that they have sat down and that is the division they have agreed, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Take the
mhm.
kids to school. He does other things. So at this point, it's like, where is the school again? Because I have my own responsibilities and I'm not quite involved,
He said,
right?
I'll come
For
get her.
example,
At first, he tell me the school. Ah, daddy, how do you
you
not
know,
know the school?
for example, I'll tell you that I know someone whose kids play hockey, and so as a hockey mom or dad, your children are going to get to the rink before 6 a.m. on a school
Mm,
day, right?
mm,
So maybe the dad does that. So the mom now does maybe like school pick up and drop off because it's kind of close to the house. Do you get what I mean? So there might be
mm,
a shared responsibility. And the real issue also when you come abroad is that beyond the activities, if the parents will volunteer, you will pay
mhm,
money for that activity, you will carry the child to that activity, they will demand that you volunteer. So you will put in personal hours. No,
mm,
otherwise your child will be kicked off that team. Do you get what I mean? So I also feel
mm,
like even when you're getting married, you need to see these things, right? When I was dating my husband, I could tell from afar that he was hands-on, the kind of person that wants to clean his house. When he's cleaning today, you'll be wondering. I never had to pick up and like I have never had to pick up a broom to like sweep my house because my husband likes to do those things. When I was pregnant, And I got pregnant, maybe because I got pregnant very early, as soon as I got married. So once I was pregnant, he was cleaning the house even before we had nannies and all those things, because he was always hands-on, and I bless God for him, right? But I feel like there are things that conversations can also achieve for you. By the time you let the
Mm,
person, okay, this is how it needs to be done, this is the best way it would work, and this is the impact and all of those things. But as women, sometimes I feel like we just take those things for granted. We are like, even if I say it, you want to be politically correct, like, oh, let his mom not hear. I said he should do this and that. Like, that's not the way that it should be, right? I feel like you need to understand your spouse, and a person that loves you is not there for you to suffer. Have all of these conversations and have them very early and bring him
mm,
in. Even when it is convenient for you to go to the school and all of that because your job is flexible, once in a
mm.
while, demand that, oh, I can't make it today, please. You need to go there. If you can go, you'll be like, please, you need to go there. So that he begins to know that it's not only me that needs to do these things. And that even further buttresses the point where imagine that you have now lived this way in Nigeria. You now say you want to carry this behavior.
This behavior.
Where? Work. It won't
Mm,
work, right? So people need to become a bit more intentional about their relocation beyond packing the Nigerian food, beyond packing the warm clothes, beyond some people will sit and actually even get schools for their children before they get there. They will get houses and all of those things. But they don't sit down to say, okay, what sort of marriage do I want? Right?
mm,
They don't
mm,
have a vision for the marriage, right? They cannot say, okay, what do we have now that is working for us? And what are the things that we need to change based on this new direction that we are going in, right? What
mm,
knowledge do we need? There are some people that because of the fact that you want to relocate, you should be looking at counseling right now because you want to
mm,
relocate in the next 1 to 2 years because you know that the marriage is not yet at the point where you know you can do this thing together. So I would say if you know that there's any kind of dysfunction of any kind, you want to deal
mm,
with it because relocation will just expose those things in a
mm,
manner that will shock you. And that's why you start
mm,
hearing that oh, people travel abroad, the marriage breaks, this happens. You now be wondering, is there like a spirit abroad? No, there's no spirit abroad. It is just how
mm,
demanding it is. It is extremely demanding. You get to do every single thing for yourself. You will wash your car by yourself. You will mow
mm,
your lawn. You will do everything by yourself and you will show up as a boss in the office.
mm.
You're going to do it
So
all, right?
I hear what you're saying, and I want us to break this down for that person who is considering relocation, right? So you're thinking about it that, oh, I want to go abroad. I really like to live in Canada or US or UK, and I'm thinking about it. So you're speaking to your husband or your wife, and you guys are having the conversation. So what are you saying? It's a number of things. And to be honest, we that are here, most times we always think about it. These chores, oh, everybody must share the chores because women naturally would agree to share the bills. I think most women, most sensible women, because hello, I'm working, I was there. If I'm working, I'll bring the money. There's no problem. But we kind of feel cheated if we share the bills and we are not and nobody is sharing the chores. Yeah, it's almost like I'm now dropping 75% and you're dropping 25%. Do you understand?
Yeah.
We kind of always want to scale this thing. And I like what you said about the fact that marriage is never 50-50. Sometimes somebody always carries the weight. It is beautiful when it shifts. So you're carrying sometimes, the other one's carrying sometimes. It's beautiful, but sometimes you may carry for a while before the other person gets up to speed. I mean, as Christian women, we need to understand that it is one of the things that we are called to do because you know how the Bible says, men are won over by the character of their wives. So you offer it to Jesus and you continue to walk, continue to talk, continue to make just continue to have the conversations until he gets to where you want to get. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that married the man. So you have just told us that when you were marrying your husband, you discovered that he was hands-on. Some of us did not check all these things. We have entered. What can we now do? Are we going to trade with the man? No. We will just keep
Oh.
moving with a smile on
Mm-hmm.
our face and our trust in Jesus and say, Father Lord, you gotta help me with this your son. This version of your son I got, I'm not liking it. Can you please work on him? So great. But what I was saying, what I meant, where the point I was trying to make is that so apart from sharing the bills and sharing the chores, you just highlighted some very important things that not many people are aware of. This fact that there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure. And what about loneliness? What about the lack of, support? Your friends that you normally chill with are not around. And even if you wanted to chat with them online, it's a different time zone. How do you deal with loneliness when your spouse is the only friend you have and you are now
Why
vexing
your
for each
spouse
other?
has to be your friend.
Mm.
because your loneliness will be so lonely. Even the loneliness will be lonely. So when
I
loneliness
mean,
too
I'll
is
go and make friends
lonely.
in church. Oh. The nearest church, I'll go and make friends there. What? Are
Uh,
you joking?
Okay, let me just give you an example. You see, the part of the city I live in is not really a city that a lot of people come to, if I can just put it that way, right? So for the longest time, I didn't know anybody that I have known. You know, when you know somebody not here, but you've known the person
Mm.
like before, that somebody I can say, oh, my person that I've known all the time.
Mm.
Finally, one day, a friend of mine, we joined the organization I was in together. So we've always known each other, for a while. And then she used to live in another province, and she got a job in my province, and voila, it was my city. Wow. I was like, God, now so you answer prayer. I've always been like, I don't know anybody. Like everybody here are people I met when I got here. She's like the only person I will talk to her. We get it. Do you get like we can gist, we can you
Mm.
please ask me how many times I've seen her? Just ask me. Maybe two or three times. She's been here for maybe a year plus,
Oh wow.
almost 2 years.
Well,
We
I can relate. I live in Lagos. We don't get time to see
It's not
people.
traffic, oh, because there's no traffic. Me that I'm going to pick my children from school. I'm coming back
Mm.
to do one activity. As they are entering the house, they're dropping their bag. It's time for music. It's time for piano. It's time for. We are all over the place. And then God now bless you. Is this period that at 6 o'clock is dark? Do you understand?
Mm.
Like Saturday, you've calculated a lot of things you're going to do. When are you going to have time? Even you, as a married woman, you even have these friends. So you better be friendly with your spouse. Otherwise, your loneliness will be lonely. Your So you see
So
why
that's
it's
that's
even more
one more reason to
important.
preserve
Ah,
the marriage, Abi.
there are a billion reasons, I will tell you. A
Mm.
billion reasons. Because even in taking care of the child, right? That's just
Mm.
even childcare, right? That is somebody to advise, to speak into the life of this child, advice. This is, everything goes here, right? Things are not
Mm.
really, the values are not exactly the same as, the values we brought from home. So you need to keep that
Mm.
child in line, a partner to do that with. You want to do that
Mm.
alone. You get one person is speaking, another person is also speaking life into the child. You guys are both talking to the I don't know, but unless it's violence and somebody's life is at risk and or it's just a very terrible situation, you're better off just working it out with your spouse. And like you said, sometimes the woman will feel like she's giving, sometimes even 110%. She'll feel like, man, I'm bringing money, I'm doing all of these things. And I understand how you can feel very resentful when they're in that situation, right?
Mhm,
But
mhm,
I would
mhm,
say that take it to God in prayer. And as cliche as this sounds, I can tell you that there are situations in my own marriage that have been resolved where I have tried to do, today you must do it. All my baskets did
What
not
to
work.
do?
I
Yeah.
dragged and dragged and dragged. And at a point, I took it to God in prayer. I can tell you that I did nothing else except prayer. So of course, when you pray, there will be instructions and you have to follow those
Mm.
instructions. I know most times those instructions are not palatable ones
They
because
don't even
God will be
look like
telling
they don't
you,
even look like solution. You're like, God, I'm saying one thing, you're telling me another thing. How is this one
you'll be giving
connected?
you some kind of instruction. You'll be thinking, God, Kukuma, just call me fool now. No need.
Mm.
Just and then you just do your own part. And I'm telling you that when you're sitting down, you just see the matter will just go out of the window by
Mm.
itself. So regardless of
Mm.
whatever you might be going through right now, I feel like, oh, you are the one doing a lot, blah, 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 blah. As a Christian woman, you go complain on your knees to your
Mm.
father. And I can assure you that that situation will shift. It will
Okay.
shift. Not that you pray, you get up, you go and quarrel and fight. That might not work. So you have
It
to
will
now
not
be able
work.
to
It's not
walk.
might.
You need to walk in obedience, right? Because
Mm.
I always tell people, God does miracle. God doesn't do magic. Magic is
Mm.
the one that when you come, abracadabra, I will change this white top to black. Not you are not involved in it. I do it all by
Mm.
myself. It's magic. But we see miracle, water to wine, you will
Mm.
feel the jazz. There will be
Mm.
an instruction. He will
Mm.
involve you. Even though, when you look at the miracle and look at what you did, I mean, there'll
I
be no
mean, see
relationship.
the fishes, see the two fishes and be how many loaves and five fishes.
Exactly. He
You
could
will
have
bring
just prayed
something.
and food appeared, right? But that's not our Jesus. You have to bring something to the table. So those instructions will come. So you will not have to carry out those instructions before your miracle will take place.
Mm. Preach it. You are preaching good, as I would say. I mean, I'm really loving the conversation. Yes, she's shouting in the chat there. She's saying, yes, yes. You're preaching good. I mean, really, I really, really love where this conversation is going. And honestly, I just feel like we need to say these things more and more and more because many people don't even know it. They don't. Um, Somebody says, having conversations is not very easy. When one of the spouses is not open to it. You
Mhm.
talked a lot about the fact that conversation is the key to really preparing, is the key to going through all of these things, right? And somebody's saying, what if your spouse is not open to it? What if your spouse is not open to it? How? How are we going to do this conversation business? People keep on saying it. Communication, communication, communication. Hello, my husband does not listen. My husband is a typical, let's say, typical Igbo chief, or a typical Yoruba man, or a typical, Yoruba a Don, or a typical Odogu. Nobody can talk to him. How do we communicate? Because, like we said, you are blessed too. Your husband is lovely. You people have known yourself. You have entered. But
Perfect, oh.
me, for example, somebody that is dealing with an Odogu husband that you cannot talk when I'm talking, how do
I
you
was even going to
communicate?
say that. You see this Odogu husband thing? Even the people that look like they're communicating, I know that every woman has passed through that phase. There are certain
Mm,
situations where you just might not be able to communicate with your spouse, because
mm.
that particular thing is like, I don't even know, I don't want to hear about it. So nobody
I'm
can
not
even
having it.
say they are on
Mm,
100% when it comes to communication or anything like that. I'm not even pretending that that's where I'm at. But I would also say that I don't know, but I know nothing else but prayers. So it might sound as if we were too Christian, we like to spiritualize everything, right? But
mm,
how do you want to do it if you don't take it to the Lord in prayer, right? So I
mm,
always pray about these things. I've had issues that, oh, we tried to talk about it. In fact, the mistake I made was trying to talk about it because the problem that
mm.
came out of that talking about it, in fact, at a point, I was like, hey, Holy Spirit. I know when I was talking, those were saying, shut up. I say, for what, Holy Spirit?
No,
I'm an
I
intelligent
must say my
woman.
mind.
I have things on my mind to let out today. And I'm like, this, making my points. If you see the way the matter just escalated, it shocked even me. When I looked back, I was like, hey, communicate, communicate. This is a communication I could have communicated because I didn't communicate it right at all. Me, I know.
Mm,
And so that
mm,
matter lingered and lingered and lingered. And sometimes, when you've experienced that kind of thing, what you now want to communicate is fear that will not be in your heart. I don't know if you've carried fear before. You want to talk about
mm,
issue. Be wondering, am I too? You would think, you'd be like, how do I raise this matter? That's where I
mm,
now was on that issue.
mm.
Thing lingered for maybe like a year. I'm telling you, it was a decision that had to do with the children. And it lingered for a year. And I started taking it to God. I'm like, God, you will do this matter. Oh. You will do this matter. You will do this matter. And at a point,
Mm.
the Holy Spirit now said, okay, I should go and talk to him about it. I say, hey, talk to him about what? I've tried,
Again.
I've tried, I've tried. And so what I said is I'll try to talk about it. And once it's like, I just back off. And I left it. Do you know the day the Lord answered my prayer? I went and I tabled
Mm.
it and just said, it's okay. We didn't have a conversation. There was
You
no
didn't have to make
conversation.
case.
Exactly. I
Mm,
didn't have to present my strong reasons, nothing. The Lord had done it. That's why
mm.
I said, if God
Finally,
will write,
finally.
God will do it, but you just have to,
Be
take some
patient.
time. Most times, we want
Mm,
now, and all of those things. So you need to pray. Even
mm,
before you table, I've had situations where even before we came to this, is not even about relocation or anything. When I was still back
mm,
home in Lagos, right? I have a problem. I go on my knees. I kid you
mm.
not. I stand up from my knees. The exact thing I wanted him to do, he just comes and starts doing it. I'll be like, I see you, Lord. I don't even
I
talk.
see you, Father.
I don't even talk. I don't even have to. This one is not even communication, whether he will answer me or not. I've controlled the matter with my
Mm,
niece.
yeah.
So,
I mean,
sometimes that's what it is.
that is a very, 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 very good tip for most women. And to be honest, I'll say I can totally relate because I remember when I first got married, I was thinking, hey, God, I beg, oh, this man was, and my own was even was we started as besties. Do you understand? Imagine bestie, you just married the first year, they're looking at you like, excuse me, who's your mate? It shocked me. I was like, "Ah, bro, I thought we were like buddies here." So it was a lot of adjustment and all of that. So it also got me, when you try to communicate things and then you are brushed off and, problems, you now start to work on eggshells. It's a very terrible place to be in. Very terrible place to be in. I want to
And I
encourage
would
anybody that
say,
is in
not
that
to
point.
cut you short, but
Yeah.
women don't also realize the power that they carry, right?
Mm.
Sometimes you are communicating when you have not communicated in the hustle room. There's
Wrong
a
timing,
communication
wrong.
you will do in the
That's
other
everything will
room.
just be,
That's
everything will be okay.
the other communication self. You don't need to communicate too much.
Mm.
So there are also tips and tricks. Like the Lord has literally given you that ability as a
Mm.
woman. But you need to understand your husband's mumu button because every man has it, even though they
Yeah.
want to have behave as if they don't, right?
Yeah.
And use it to your favor, not to control him, right? But of course,
Mm.
I want to believe that we're Christian women and of whatever we're doing is, for and of course, if you're even doing something that will be detrimental to the family, you'll be on your own, right? Because God will know how to scatter it as well. But you
Mm.
also have to be aware of those things that sometimes it might be that you've not been providing the other food properly. And if you cook a proper meal, the
Mm.
matter you want to talk about will be easier. Sometimes it's timing. It's
Mm.
timing. You look at it, it's not when he's
Timing,
coming back, he's
presentation,
tired.
and all of those
Is
things.
the
Yeah.
is the way you even present it, is the words. So that's how prayer will even help you to, know the words to say, the timing
Mm.
to present
Hmm.
it. There's sometimes
Mm.
you have to be the fool, right? And you will do certain things to wet the ground, but you might also feel resentful, like, but it's a human being like me. Why do I need to prepare as if I'm going before a king or one celebrity and
Hello,
all?
is it not your king? He is the king of
Exactly.
the house.
You have
Let's just
to.
be clear. Mhm. So I also, in the chat, I'm seeing some comments in the chat. I says, yes, nothing is cast in stone. There are different strategies. Number one, pray, pray, pray. Number two, sometimes you can even act film. Cry, especially
Yeah.
if you're not a typical crier, that
Mhm.
tears works some kind times. Number three says sometimes leading with his love language before speaking, and this also speaks to,
Mm,
our other room matters, presenting food,
exactly.
helping. So, just what is his love language? What is it that that you do that makes him feel love? Start with it, lead with that. And see, there are times when, me that my husband doesn't like doing school run. He looks at school run as if this is for lower mortals. Excuse me, school run is not possible.
Then there are drivers
But
and nannies.
do you understand? As a school, in fact, even me, if you say, no, my darling,
A
don't
whole
do school run.
chairman one to come and be doing scrum
You
run
see,
for you. You
he
said
will
you're
even
not
say,
afraid.
stay with me, stay with me. Let the nanny and driver go and take them to school. Even me, he doesn't want me to do school run. They united him to do school run. Forget it, it's not happening. So school run for him is just beneath him, as in that way. But you know that on days when I have had, we arrange ourselves inside the other room. When
Ah,
I call bro like this, say, please, dear, I'm running late for picking the kids. I know my children go to three
so you
different
be
schools.
hearing, don't worry.
He's like, tell me which one you want me to take up. I can get this and this, you get the third one. I'm like, come on now. He's like, you don't even have to finish picking. He's already like, tell me what you want. What do you need me to do? I'm like, oh, okay, let's go. Some days he'll be like,
Seriously, there are
let me
some
take
demands you want to make that you cannot make it until you have given a number of rounds of very well
arrange,
presented something.
arrange
Then you
something.
present it. It's strategy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's what, and when you were saying that some people may be feeling some sort of way about saying, do I have to do all of this to talk to a human being like me? I want to teach you something. If you had a boss in the office, a very serious boss that, is what wahala is hard, his problem is plenty, to get him to sign off for something is hard, and you need the thing to move your department forward. You needed his sign off. What would you do? Would you not prepare strategy, prepare plan? Sometimes we even buy the boss lunch before we come and bring the case. Do you understand? So you do all kinds of things to get the person on the right side, even if it is to discuss his favorite football team. You can come in and start with the football conversation. Did you see how Liverpool beats people that man? That was a great match. The person's already in a good mood. You can start to talk. So even with your bosses at work, you do that. Saying, is your husband the king of your home that is too much? Please, ladies, let's remember to give respect to whom respect is due. I have a question in the chat that says money issues. A lot of couples who relocate face these issues. So how this person is basically asking, how are they supposed to deal with money issues? I know that's a big thing, for relocating couples and part of what puts strain on marriages. How do you think we should deal with that?
I mean, like everything else, it's a partnership. It's still the idea of capacity, right? When it comes to money, we need to move away from the man is the provider. I'm
Mm.
just your helper. And as a helper cannot be helping 70 now. And the owner of the work will be doing 30. That's not helper now,
Mm.
right? I'm supposed to do like 10 or 5 or 12, But no, when you move abroad, I always believe that, and this is not even about abroad, sincerely, like wherever in the world you are,
Mm-hmm.
the Lord blesses families through the husband or the
Or the
wife,
wife per time.
right?
Yeah.
It makes no sense for you to be earning billions and then you be living as a thousandaire because you are a helper.
That, that's what I'm just a but
You're not even
that's
helping
what we can
yourself.
afford.
You're not helping yourself, right? So when it comes
Mm.
to money issues, most times is now the woman, right? When it comes to money, that doesn't want to bend because she's thinking,
Mm.
no, where I'm from will take care of us. Ah,
And if I give him now, he'll start becoming lazy. He'll become laid
do you
back.
know that?
I've heard too
But do
many
you also know
stories.
that? In fact, you see, this life will be here till the next hour. That is actually a possibility. So that
Mm-hmm.
one is another level. You know how
Mm.
people relocate? Maybe one person is not earning, maybe the man is not earning, maybe he's a student, or maybe doesn't even get a job. You are the one who gets the
Mm.
job, right? And you begin to provide for the family. That is most times the fear that if you now carry that provider shoe, to remove that shoe will become a challenge. So that is a valid fear, and people have been caught in that web as well, right?
Mm.
But it's still all about communication, right? Being flexible. And most times, especially because of the way life is abroad and the way the job market is, you hear people just wake up and they lost their jobs, right? The company has downsized. So many things happen. So sometimes the
Mm.
man will be providing. If he loses his job, the woman steps in, or the woman loses her job, he takes on more. It, you need to
It has to be
consistently
fluid. You have to be
be
flexible.
flexible. You need to be flexible. And it's all about being a partnership. Try to look at those around you who have successful marriages. What have they done? For them
Mm.
to adopt those strategies, they are not foolish, right? It is
Mm.
wisdom. Why are
Mm.
you trying to? You're not the first to relocate, right? People have
Why are you
relocated ahead of
reinventing
you.
the wheel?
No, there's nothing to
Mm-hmm.
reinvent. Go close to the people that you do, people that you trust, and maybe you don't have a Christian background. Not some people that are not Christians. Like some of those white people, they have fantastic marriages, right? And these people
Because the
has nothing
principles
to.
are the same. The principles are
It works
universal.
whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're an atheist.
Absolutely.
It always works. So I would say sometimes it's also a mentor. You want to get maybe an older couple. You're new in the
Mm.
country, you can get an older couple that, sometimes, this the man or the woman has to see someone who is doing it. So it's not like this person is not a fool now. It's doable.
Mm.
Beyond,
Mm.
I'm the one saying it's actually doable. So that's how
Mm.
sometimes you can, address these things. But they are all real issues. The truth is they are all real issues. And because you've talked about it today and yeah, you've kind of like achieved some form of stability, doesn't mean that it's not going to crop up in the future because situations will change, circumstances will change. So you always have to be
Mm.
fluid to align with whatever your reality is per time.
Mm, I mean, I really love this conversation. And to be honest, like you said, if we continue, we're not going to leave here today. Our time is fast spent, and I know that our audience on YouTube have been enjoying it. I mean, so many comments here. In fact, AY is agreeing with what we said about, strategy that we have to deploy when we want to get things passed in the office. She even says, once to approve a project, we contributed money to buy generator, right, just for the project to be to be accepted. She says so
Wow.
sometimes strategies must be deployed, as long as the intention is not to manipulate. The intention is
Exactly.
pure. Because you know that God honors our intentions and He looks at our hearts. So when we have to do hello, people have been doing strategy from the beginning of days now. Queen
Huh.
of Sheba, when she came to look for Solomon, she came with gifts. Like the woman left with more gifts than she came with. You think she
In
did not
fact,
know?
that place, and it's sharp girl.
it was she don't know that when she was coming to had plenty things, but she came with truckload of stuff and stuff, and she came, she sat at his feet to learn, and she was right, and she was
I'm
really
sure
saying,
Solomon
oh
was
yes,
even telling her things he has not even told other people. She
understand?
was
She was
getting the
receiving,
inner
she was
inner.
getting information, writing down, saying, oh, you're so
Because even the
wise. In
Bible
fact,
described her own gifts. They said she brought something that thing cannot be
more than
found.
that number has been brought. Yes,
Like,
yes.
she was very
She was
determined
very
and
intentional.
strategic.
That
Yeah.
was very strategic. I mean, I read it and I was thinking, she was very strategic, and she came away with more than she dropped in there. You think she did not know that she was going to come back with that? It was a plan. And this was not a person that had fear of God or that knew God or knew anything. She was not one of the Israelites. Maybe she never heard of God before, right? And so that's why we say these principles are universal. If you don't use the principle as a child of God, the one that is not a Christian will use them, and it will work, because guess what? God allows the sun to shine on all of us. It's everybody. He does not discriminate, because he's looking for all of us to become his children eventually anyway. So, I mean, it's been such an amazing conversation today. I honestly don't want to let you go. Did you guys know that this is my baby sister? Did I tell you? She's my sister, my mother's child, my mother's last born. Such beauty and brains put together. I mean, my mother born sha, but I mean, can't you see? I mean, you shouldn't be surprised, should you? Anyway, thank you so much for coming today. I'm so excited to have you, and you are welcome anytime, any day. Just pick a topic from the theme of the month, and you have the slot. So tell us, if we were going to leave with one last word, what would you want our viewers to go away with from this conversation today?
I would say no situation is permanent, right? Regardless of the struggles, the challenges, it looks like it's not working, or I mean, this person, you don't know this person I've married. These things
Mm,
people are saying it's okay, but this my own is different.
mm,
There's no situation that does not have a resolution. It's just
absolutely.
for you to find what works for you. And the only way to find it, there's the Holy Spirit that carries wisdom. You see,
Mm,
wisdom. I was on Hallelujah Challenge yesterday, and Pastor Nathaniel said something very interesting. He said, they say wisdom, but you know what wisdom is? Wisdom is hear and do, see and do.
mm,
So when you hear the instruction of the Holy Spirit and you
mm.
do, you know what I'm saying? That girl is
So
sharp.
she's so
She's
wise.
wise, girl. You're not wise
Mm,
anything. It's expo that you have been given that you just
mm,
implemented. So wisdom
mm,
is hear and do. So
mm,
there's nothing that you can be passing through now, whether you're planning to relocate, you've relocated, you don't have any plans, but it's all about marriage and relationships. There's
mm,
nothing that you can be going through now that there's no solution for, right? I would just say, take it to God in prayer, be open-minded. Be
mm.
open-minded, because the instructions that will come will not be the instructions you like. I can tell you that for
It's not
free.
what you're expecting.
It's
Mm,
not, it's not what you're expecting. While you are praying to God for demand, for God to change demand, He will first change you. So be
mm.
ready to be pruned
That happened
yourself,
to
to
me.
drop
That
some
happened to me.
mindsets and some mentalities, right?
Mm,
To now open up yourself to be the person that God has created you to be. Then you will begin to see those changes. So it's never a dead end. It's never a my own is terrible. There's nothing like that. There's
mm,
no situation that
mm.
that
There's
God cannot come
always
through.
a solution.
There's
I love
always
it.
a
I love it.
solution. You just haven't found it. So you keep searching, keep praying,
Mm.
keep listening, keep an ear out. And I'm very sure that,
And be ready
things are
to
going to
implement.
change. Yeah.
Wow, 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 wow. That was profound. Even in the chats, they're saying, wow, thank you so much for this last note. In fact, wisdom is here and do. Somebody says, thank you so much, Efue and Brenda, for the amazing conversation. It's been insightful. Someone says, thumbs up, Lady Bridget Imokai, allowing herself to be the instrument of God's blessing to us through her children.
Thank
So,
you.
Mama B, they're hailing you in the chats too. Oh, so I mean, it's been an amazing conversation. I just wanted to remind you guys that this is brought to you by the Women's Growth Academy. And this is Women's Matters. It happens live on YouTube every Tuesday at 7 p.m. W8, where we talk about different conversations that affect the woman. It's a Bible-centered program, but it's open to people of all faiths, because the word of God is universal, the principles are universal, and they help to change all lives, regardless of whether you believe in God or not. But of course, we'll be happy for you to believe in God. And so thank you all for coming. It's been an amazing time with my own sister. I'm loving it. And thank you everyone for being with us today. I can see the engagement in the chat. It's been
Thank
an amazing
you.
session. And
Thank you,
everybody's saying, wow,
Brenda.
wow, wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Efue. This was so good. And they're saying blessings to you. So till we come your way again next week, Tuesday, it's peace out.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.